He laughed when I walked away. That sound followed me down every hallway, every staircase, every gilded corridor of the empire we built together. He thought it was over. He thought I was broken. But what he didn't know was that I wasn't leaving empty-handed. I was leaving with everything. The elevator doors closed on my reflection. Unreadable, elegant, burning. This isn't the end, I told myself. This is just the beginning. My name is Elena Ashford, and for 7 years, I was the invisible architect of his fortune. I met James Hargrave when I was 26, brilliant, hungry, and foolish enough to believe that love and ambition could coexist. I gave him my ideas, my connections, my trust. I stayed up until 3 a.m. reviewing contracts he'd never read. I shook hands with investors he was too proud to approach. I became the shadow that made his light possible. The world saw him as a self-made billionaire. Magazine covers, keynote speeches, awards he accepted without ever saying my name. But every empire has a foundation, and I was his. I was always his. I remember standing beside him at galas in emerald gowns, watching him collect praise for strategies I'd whispered into his ear the night before. My smile was perfect, practiced, flawless. But my eyes already knew the truth. It was the quarterly board meeting, late September. The light through those floor-to-ceiling windows was almost golden. I had just unveiled the European acquisition. 18 months of work, flawless execution, every detail perfect. The room was silent. 20 executives in tailored suits, leaning forward, impressed. I could feel the shift in the air, the respect, the acknowledgement, until he spoke. His voice cut through the room like ice. He called my life's work adorable, in front of men I'd brought to the table, in front of investors who owed him nothing, and me everything. The word hung in the air, adorable, like I was a child playing dress-up. He turned to the woman beside him. Younger, ambitious, predatory. Cassandra. He'd hired her 3 months ago without consulting me. Now I understood why. His voice was casual, almost playful, as he delivered the final blow. Cassandra here will take point on expansion. Elena, why don't you focus on charitable foundations? Something more suited to your strengths. The room went silent. All eyes on me, waiting to see if I would break. That's when I understood. He wasn't just dismissing my work. He was erasing me, replacing me, in business and everywhere else. 7 years of building, strategizing, sacrificing, gone, handed to someone who'd been there 12 weeks. I stood up. My hands were steady, even though my heart was screaming. I closed my folder with surgical precision. The leather cover made a soft sound against the mahogany table. And I walked toward the door. Every step felt like miles. The marble floor was cold beneath my heels. I could feel their stares burning into my back. Pity, embarrassment, relief that it wasn't them. As I reached the threshold, his laughter filled the room. Elena, don't be dramatic. That's what he said. Like my pain was a performance. Like 7 years of loyalty and brilliance could be dismissed with a smirk and a wave. I didn't turn around. I didn't give him that satisfaction. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Because what I knew, and he didn't, was that I'd been preparing for this moment for 6 months. I'd seen the signs, the late meetings, the hushed phone calls, the way he stopped asking for my opinion. I disappeared, changed my number, moved to a small apartment in Brooklyn. Nothing like the penthouse we'd shared. No doorman, no view, just silence. And in that silence, I began to dismantle everything he thought was his. Rain blurred the city lights outside my window. It was October now. The trees were losing their leaves. I sat at a bare desk with only my laptop, surrounded by files and documents I'd been gathering for months. He thinks I'm broken, I thought. Good. Let him think that. You see, I wasn't just his partner. I was a signatory. A founding member of his first LLC, buried in paperwork from 2016. A silent shareholder in 17 subsidiaries he'd hidden under shell companies, thinking I'd never look that deep. But I had looked. I'd spent 6 months before that meeting working with forensic accountants, lawyers who specialized in corporate structure, investigators who could trace money through offshore accounts. And while he was busy playing king, I was quietly buying back my kingdom. Every late night I'd spent building his credibility. Every contact I'd introduced him to. Every deal I'd structured while he took credit and smiled for cameras. I documented everything, every email, every signature, every witness to my work. And now? Now I was calling in every favor, every debt, every silent alliance I'd ever forged. There were people in that industry who remembered, who knew, who'd been waiting for me to remember my own power. There were moments I doubted myself. 3 a.m, staring at contracts until the words blurred. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm not strong enough? What if he really was the genius and I was just support? But then I'd remember that laugh, that casual cruelty, the way he erased 7 years with a single sentence. And the doubt would burn away, replaced by something colder, clearer. Determination forged in humiliation. 6 months later, I stood before a wall of screens showing stock tickers, contracts, leverage points. My hair was shorter now, sharper. My suit was charcoal perfection. I looked at my reflection in the dark glass and barely recognized myself. I wasn't the woman who walked away in that black dress, heartbroken and silent. I was something far more dangerous. I was a woman who knew exactly what she was worth, and exactly what she was owed. An older investor shook my hand in a private club, Thomas Whitmore. He'd been at our first major gala years ago. He smiled, kind, knowing, almost fatherly. We always knew it was you, Elena. We were just waiting for you to remember. It took 14 months. 14 months of silence, strategy, and surgical precision. But when I walked into that meeting with the board of Hargrave Industries, I wasn't asking for a seat at the table. I slid a folder across the polished wood. 3 board members opened it simultaneously. I watched their faces drain of color, one by one, like dominoes falling. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. 53% of Hargrave Industries. Through shell acquisitions, proxy votes, and shares I never relinquished when I was removed from operations. Legally, as of this morning, I am the majority shareholder. The silence was suffocating. Complete. Absolute. One board member tried to speak, but no words came out. Just a stunned exhale. James had spent 7 years building an empire on my foundation. He just forgot one crucial detail. I still held the deed. Every contract he'd signed, I'd co-signed. Every subsidiary he'd created, I'd been listed as a founding member. He'd been so arrogant, so certain of his control, that he never bothered to check. His assistant burst into his office across town. I imagined the scene perfectly. Him on the phone, confident, laughing. Sarah entering, pale and shaking. "Sir, you need to see this." The way his smile would fade as he looked at the screen. Emergency board meeting. 2 hours later. The same room where I was humiliated 14 months ago. Same golden light through the windows. Same marble floors. James sat at the head of the table, already defensive, already afraid. The door opened. I wore the same black dress. I'd kept it in my closet, waiting for this moment. I walked the same path across that marble floor. But this time, everything was different. Every head turned to me, not with pity, with respect, with fear, with the sudden understanding that power had shifted while they weren't watching. James stood, his voice cracking in a way I'd never heard before. "Elena, what is this? What are you doing?" He looked smaller somehow, diminished. I met his eyes with devastating calm. My voice didn't waver. Not once. "I'm exercising my rights as majority shareholder. Effective immediately, you're relieved of your position as CEO. The board has voted 9-2. His face went white. His hand gripped the back of his chair. "You can't. I built this company." His voice was desperate now, pleading. "No, James. We built it. I just let you think it was yours." The truth hung in the air like smoke. I walked to the head of the table. He stepped aside because he had no choice. I sat in his chair, the leather still warm from his body, and I looked him directly in the eyes. "You laughed when I walked away. You thought I was nothing without you. You thought you could erase me, replace me, rewrite history. But you were always nothing without me. You just never noticed." Security escorted him out. His former assistant, Sarah, who I'd hired and trained, wouldn't even meet his eyes. The door closed behind him with a soft final click, the sound of an empire changing hands. They asked me if it was worth it. The months of silence, the loneliness, the cold nights in that small apartment, the careful, patient dismantling of everything he thought was untouchable. And I tell them, revenge isn't about destruction. It's about reclamation. It's about taking back what was always yours. What you built with your own hands, your own mind, your own sleepless nights. Golden hour light flooded the boardroom. I stood at the window, looking out over the city. Manhattan stretched below me like a kingdom. My reflection in the glass was no longer haunted. It was powerful, whole, unbreakable. Months later, I walked into my own charity gala, the foundation I'd always wanted to build. I was radiant, surrounded by people who saw me, truly saw me, who valued my mind, not just my proximity to power. James was nowhere in sight, his name removed from every wall, every plaque, every memory. The industry had moved on, and I had moved forward. He laughed when I walked away. He thought I was defeated, disposable, done. But he didn't laugh when I came back. Because when a woman who built an empire decides to take it back, she doesn't just win. She rewrites the entire game. She changes the rules. She reminds the world that foundations don't crumble. They endure. And sometimes they rise again, stronger than before. The camera holds on the empty boardroom one last time. His nameplate gone from the wall. My name in its place. Elena Ashford, CEO, founder, architect. He laughed when I walked away, but he didn't laugh when I came back. Because when a woman who built an empire decides to take it back, she doesn't just win, she rewrites the entire game. If this story touched you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more powerful stories like this one, and tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from?